Pretty good for off the toe. Whoa. Spicy ball speed. Titleist iron, not known for super hot ball speeds, not known. Okay. I'm cautiously optimistic. That has hit so bad. Wow. Okay. That impresses me. So I warmed up a bit. I try not to hit a million balls because I kind of want to give you some raw-ish impressions of this iron that I have high hopes for, but frankly, the T200 model, which is now called T250, has kind of been a little bit of a letdown in my opinion in the past. There's been a few people I've seen hit it well and it works well for them based on their characteristics, usually probably a faster swing speed player, not looking to hit the ball with too much extra speed, let's call it, maybe doesn't need too much forgiveness. I just think that model, the sound, the feel, it definitely lagged behind other companies, Mizuno, Ping, for example. I just think had much better models, and I don't think Titleist has ever really had something in this category that looks the way that this looks, which is quite nice, very nice, and performs as like a direct competitor to some of the best irons that I have in here, the best selling irons. Those first few were awfully good. So things that would be nice, an easier to hit club in general. Forgiveness-wise, I think a T200 is okay, a little bit more forgiving than a T150. It never really wowed me in terms of dealing with different strikes all that well. Titleist's signature, in terms of design, I think is a little bit more biased towards the consistency of distance control. So I don't need or want them to kind of lose that vibe, but I definitely think it needs to catch up because I deal with real people all day. If they take a club and it's half a club shorter consistently than something else, and it's not as forgiving on a miss hit, the majority of people will give me the look that means, can you get this thing out of here? Because it's performing well so far. It's, I would say, as fast as it needs to be off the face. I haven't exactly been buttoning these in the middle of the face, as you can tell by the impact location readings. They've been kind of moving around a little bit. It's good. It's good. A little bit thin. Still very fast ball speed. Plenty of height. It's doing well. It is safe to say I think they've solved what most people would consider the issues with the looks. I think it's just a more modern looking club now. It's a little bit more seamless in terms of how it's designed. The feel is better. I'm not going to say that it's the softest iron I've hit in this category. I think a Mizuno, a JPX 925 forged or an MP245 would still take that cake, so to speak. But it's pretty similar to an i530, which I think is fine. I think it's fine. They're never going to make a super soft iron, I think, on purpose. A T100 or T150, you're not going to find is the softest feeling club out there. They're usually a tiny bit on the firmer side as a brand, and I think that's okay. It's just, it doesn't have that kind of click and clack that the previous model had. It doesn't have that like plasticky backplate when you rake in another ball. Those are the things that people were asking for them to get rid of, and they've done that. So what I'm noticing so far is it's good. I haven't exactly managed the face perfectly, which no one does, but it's like on the slight overdraws or the slight pushes, the ball in terms of the carry is quite consistent. So I'm not seeing a huge range of back to front dispersion. Those last two are kind of right on top of each other. I think that's a pretty good example there. So to me, it's a better swing overall. I feel like I got the face more in the place I'm used to. Technically, it overdrew about 25 feet. Again, the carry is not that much different. You think about, I've pushed one 35 feet left of the pin, and then I've overdrawn one 24 feet right of the pin. For those to only separate by around 6 yards, call it, front to back, under 20 feet front to back, On the golf course, you probably wouldn't even really notice. They're solid. They're solid. They're pretty much all on or within the fringe of a reasonable sized green from a yardage that obviously is longer than I would normally hit a 7-iron. These are built to be a little spicier, 30-degree loft. Titleist has obviously done some things to make the face a little bit hotter. I don't really want to bore you to tears with the marketing stuff. You're welcome to read that if you like on your own time. It really doesn't matter what companies say they've changed. I just want to know that it changed. So if there's internal construction, if there's weighting, if there's tungsten that's in higher volume than it used to be, great. I ultimately really don't care. Does it perform more forgiving? Does it sound and feel better? And is a little bit hotter and a little bit longer than the previous ones? Yes. It definitely seems like all that has been checked off. And my initial impression would be that it's very consistent on distance control for this category of iron. I think it's as much as you could possibly ask for. This is an iron I would consider alongside, my opinion, the best in the business right now, a JPX 925 forged, a Ping i530. I'd be hitting those side by side, and I'd have a bit of a decision to make. That's not the case for the previous version. The T200 was really almost never keeping up in someone's performance when I'm actually watching it, and it was really usually coming down to someone's preference towards the brand or very unique needs. That one felt toey. Not by much. Not by much. So I think it's probably a good example. The feel off the face, it's definitely not dull. It's not like I have no idea where I struck it. I have no feedback. It's not like that. The worst swing I've made so far. Somehow finding the surface. I think another thing that's worth mentioning is it's kind of giving me the this is kind of easy to hit vibe. Again, not something I would generally say about a Titleist iron. Probably about as well as I hit it. A tiny bit in the heel, but a very good result. Very good result. JPX 925 forged, I think, is previously my favorite hollow body iron at address. This might edge it just slightly. I don't exactly know what to say about it. To me, it just seems a little bit more compact, maybe a tiny bit thinner on the top line. It's not that different looking than a T150 at address. That's the best compliment I can give it. I mentioned the T150 and T100 video. I think Titleist now probably has one of the best, call it OEM fitting system with the adjustable hosels. So if you're actually getting fit, you can get loft and lie and everything testing during the session. You can mess with head weight a little bit with this kind of weight port at the back. Okay, so I've put this a little bit more into hot mode. It's a degree stronger at 29, which is actually what a Ping i530 is at. And I'm going to change balls. So I was hitting a standard Pro V1 there. So I've got a left dash Pro V1X here. We have a little bit less loft. Okay, interesting. I actually swung a little bit slower on that one. It didn't strike it as well. So the distance potential is definitely there. Better strike. Starting to see a little bit more separation on the yardage, a little faster ball speed. It's nice too. Tiny bit in the toe, turn it over a little bit. Yeah, so it's probably, I probably added 5 or 6 yards. Now I'm kind of in a category where it's almost as long as my 5-iron, which for some people is appealing. For some people, they are probably typing their rage in a comment right now. So the difference being when I push one, it was more like 197 before. Now I'm getting an extra 6 yards or so. I don't think it's become less consistent as far as I can tell with the stronger loft and the lower spin ball. It's just going a bit further. Yeah. I will say it impresses me. Let's do what's actually very common, I find, is someone who doesn't get enough height and spin on the ball with their irons at all. And generally speaking, that person kind of gets pigeonholed into smaller golf clubs, like very small cavity backs by comparison, because the stock lofts of those clubs are more appropriate for them. There's a lot of great company making hollow body irons, but they generally start around 30 degrees of loft. We don't want to bend them too much. So I find that person to be difficult to fit. I'm going to show you 2 degrees weak. They do have a high launch version, which starts up at 35. So if what I'm showing you you're even more extreme, you have an even crazier option, which I think is quite cool. But let's add some spin to this. We're gonna hit a Pro V1X instead. Okay, so let's get the dynamic loft down in terms of the swing. I'm gonna get a little bit more kind of sweepy and from the inside. See how this configuration can help. Sort of a very shut face swing. Very from the inside, 8 degrees, only 1 or 2 degrees down. For that type of swing, that is a lot of launch and a lot of spin. Same there, just took it back very shut and kind of sweeped it. Yeah, ooh, almost went in. So that's just the standard head, put 2 degrees weak. The high launch version is really significant. You can basically get a 5 degree weak version of this. That will be a bit more of a niche product, but there are a lot of players with extremely low dynamic loft. They need the forgiveness of the bigger head. I've been kind of hoping a company would do that for a while, to have something in the shop where if I get that person, what do I do with them? I can only bend a club so weak. They're smart to have done that. I think for most people, the 2 degree weak version of this would probably be enough with the right golf ball. It makes the club setup really nice in terms of the offset. It actually takes a little bit of the offset out at address. Not that it had a bunch to begin with, but this looks really, really good. They've definitely got it right with this model. The 250 is, I think, a pretty significant improvement over what they've done in the past. You know, is it better than other clubs in this category? That remains to be seen. I need some time here working with real people, hitting them side by side. I think it's clearly a very good option. I would not be surprised if this ends up kind of in the top 3 of irons over the next 12 months. And if you're a Titleist fan and you are looking in this category of iron, I think your prayers have finally been answered. It's a very versatile iron. Different configurations, different lofts, different balls, different swings. That one was me getting a little bit steeper on it. There's a lot of people that are going to fit well into this based on a good fitting. It's one of the more significant upgrades I've seen in a single generation from just about any company I can think of in the irons. It's very good.